RealTuners Radio.
So, do you want to learn how to tune electronic fuel injection live in person with the guys from RealTuners? We have 2-day courses in dyno shops all across the country. Register for these at RealTuners.com. Click on RealTuners Live Classes. For more info or to make a reservation, go to RealTuners.com or message us at RealTuners LLC on Facebook. Learn how to tune your own standalone EFI systems like Holley, FuelTech, Fast, and others on the chassis dyno. And now we've announced new GM, Gen 3, and Gen 4 2-day classes taught by James Short of Shore Tuning. Our classes cover such topics as traction control, individual cylinder tuning on a budget, safe tuning for maximum power, and power adder tuning. Upcoming classes with available seats are as follows. General Motors Gen 3 and Gen 4 factory ECU tuning with HP tuners at Trick Pro Motorsports in Palm Bay, Florida on December 1st and 2nd. And our new advanced standalone tuning for drag racers will debut at Kevin Smith's shop, KSR Performance in Gainesville, Florida on November 17th and 18th. This is a brand new class and Kevin's shop is the place to catch it first. Northern Ohio people, make note. We just opened up our standalone EFI Essentials class at Busher Racing just outside of Norwalk, Ohio, January 19th and 20th. Make your reservations at RealTuners.com. Good evening, gearheads, and welcome to another episode of RealTuners Radio. Tonight on episode 67, we'll talk a little bit about Proposition 65 and what it means to people in our industry. Then we'll talk with Josh Tonski, newest record holder in the crazy club of people trying to go fast with conventional manual transmissions. Josh recently blasted a 200-mile-per-hour quarter-mile pass, and he's here to talk with us about it tonight. As always, huge thanks to the group of guys that helped me keep this show up and running. John Bewley at Little John's Motorsports, James Short at Shore Tuning, Tom Sewell at Fuel Injector Development, Scott Evans at Helix Tuning, Rye Klemp from Clapped Out, Bill Fowler from Big Hat Racing, Dan Parker the movie star, and Mike Matajasic tonight from Time Bomb Racing. And thanks to you guys for listening in. I'm your undocumented immigrant of calibration engineering, Scott Clark. Welcome to RealTuners Radio. And here we are, another Wednesday evening, November 7th. It's a Wednesday, like I just said that. Allow myself to introduce myself. Hey man, I'm not a professional radio guy. I just do tuning. So anyway, welcome aboard. Thanks for tuning in tonight. It's all right. Took a minute to get things started, man. It's a little bit cold weather up here. I need to get on my game a little bit better, or add some cold start in Richmond, I guess. Anyway, sorry about that. Let me apologize first and foremost to Rye Klemp because he made this really cool intro tonight and I screwed up and didn't play it. Everybody take a drink. First audio glitch. Okay.
I worked so hard on it.
We're less than like a minute in and it's already starting.
Oh, yeah.
That doesn't bode well for the evening.
No.
John, what are you drinking?
What have I got tonight? I don't even know. I got to get my bottle out.
Is it some Dickel?
Gonna make fun of my Canadian club tonight.
Damn. I got the Gibson.
Ooh, the plastic bottle. Classy, Scott.
Oh, shit. I got the glass bottle.
Oh.
Very high school for you.
Oh,
Canadian Club
Canadian
and Slice,
Deluxe.
man. That used to be our high school get hammered and puke your guts out drink.
I get Canadian Deluxe and
Bad
confused
hangover.
with Canadian Club.
It does
I
make
know.
for a bad hangover.
We used to do the Zimas with Jolly Ranchers.
Oof.
Ugh.
Is that it? Boone's Farm.
Oh my god, that sounds hard.
Boone's
Dude, what do you know
Farm.
about Mad Dog 2020 Banana Red?
I know we must have went to school about the same time. Purple Passion. Zima was the new shit. Remember that?
Dude, so you remember I sent you guys the picture like a couple months ago. They brought Zima back for a limited time only.
Saw this.
Yeah.
I'm just afraid of the gifts that people will make. Whatever Luke Bant will come up with if I was actually drinking Zima.
Seriously.
Canadian Club jokes incoming.
No, I spent, speaking of drinking, like I wasn't on last week because I was sitting in the Bahamas sipping exceptionally fruity drinks. But the cruise that we just went on, and I'm not bragging, but my wife like knows me. And this is how awesome she is. She goes, I'm going to go ahead and get us the drinks package. And I was like, well, what is that? She goes, it means you get 15 alcoholic drinks every day for free. Well, not free. You got to pay up front, but it's money. You're money ahead by paying for it up front. So we just went on a 5-day cruise to the Bahamas. And I was like, 15 a day challenge accepted. And
did you make it?
3 out of 5 days I did. And a couple of those days I had to like dip into her account because if you're in the same cabin, you have to like share. There's 2 adults that way you're not sharing beverages or whatever. But it was a good time. I came off of that cruise and I gained, and I shit you not, this is not exaggeration, 5 days I gained 9 pounds.
Yes, that sounds like my normal growth rate.
Weight. Perfect.
It was such a good like just disconnect and unplug from social media because you got no service and I'm not paying for their shitty Wi-Fi on the boat. So it was pretty good. It's 5 days without any connection.
They must have had shitty Wi-Fi on the beach because you were posting up pics and stuff there. Gotta go. I'm on the beach right now.
No. When I talked to you guys, we were in Nassau and the restaurant that we stopped at is like conch fritters and just a bunch of like some, I don't know. It was like fish fries and it was a good time. I had a good time.
Conch fritters are so good.
Dude, they're so this place was so rad. Like you're sitting at this restaurant and the restaurant's kind of over the water. This has nothing to do with cars, but y'all can fucking deal with it for a little bit. And we're sitting at a table and you turn over your shoulder and this dude's got this gaff and the water's crystal clear. You know what I mean? Because you're in the Bahamas.
Right.
And 5 feet in, what they do is they take the conch shell and they punch a hole in the back of these fuckers and they tie like 6 or 7 of them together. So rather than like catch them, kill them, and freeze them or refrigerate them, they just keep them in the water right next to the restaurant. So when you order, little dude walks out there with the gaff and scoops them out of the water and then cuts them up and cooks them right there for you, depending on how you order them. So
what exactly is in those thing? Like a giant snail?
Yeah, basically. But like the meat, it's kind of like clam meat, but the meat is so like tough, you have to like pulverize it. Right. No. It's super tough. Like it's rock fucking hard. It's like trying to eat a piece. If it's not cooked right, it's like trying to eat a tire. But
right, I got you.
If it's cooked right,
it's rubber band.
Yeah, it's amazing though. It's kind of like calamari, so it's really really good. Anyway, great times.
I can dig the calamari.
Now I'm back
for sure.
I'm back and I'm in car world now. So back
to work. Ugh.
Yes, glad to be back.
Those of us that work,
it's work for all of you guys.
Yeah.
It's not work for me. This is pleasure for me.
It's all right though. This is actually pleasure for me too. I totally enjoy doing that. I got to thank every one of you guys. I'm sitting here working on Christmas presents for all you sons of bitches that help me out with this stuff.
Oh,
there's some neat stuff in the works, man. I'll just say that. Along the lines of following Dahlquist and his wife do every holiday for people.
Probably the only present I get this year.
I doubt it. We'll make it good. I'm glad Matt Jacek is on here though too, because he can advise me on the right alcohol purchase that Bewley won't turn up his nose at.
Oh, geez, you act like I'm a snob about it.
Mike and those guys, I'll ride with. I've ridden with them.
Drinking out of a container today. I don't think
No, I'm way low class compared to the stuff Bewley likes to drink. But I know that Mike and Dave are on the right bus because they're like, we'll stop at some alcohol joint in the middle and we'll literally be driving down the highway halfway to Arkansas and be like, oh, pull over. There's some place that's got something or whatever, and they come out, I just got this bottle for $90. It's awesome. And it's like, a half a cup of liquid, whatever's in it. But I'm guessing that
he was Dave was picking up a Weller 12 year at all the liquor stores in Arkansas.
They were all
nobody pays for that much liquor.
You gotta pass along a bottle. You got to pass along a bottle.
Yeah.
I've got a bottle of Antique 107. I have a bottle of Special Reserve. I do not have a Weller 12 right now.
I'll give it this for being not much
Dave
of a drinking
drinks Weller
guy.
12 is his regular day to day.
Yeah,
So
I
think he put.
it's good stuff. It tastes good. Literally,
Weller
I'm not a
12,
big
yeah.
drinker, but stuff tastes good. It goes down easy, and man, I mean, it works. Man, it's effective. Woof. Like
Dude,
nitrous.
it's a great bottle. At
It worked.
Special Reserve is a great bottle
Dave's
too.
professional at transporting liquor. So yeah, he brought a
All right.
suitcase with bubble wrap
Across the
just for
line.
bottles of Weller to get back home.
That's awesome. I've got buddies of mine that do that all the time. Like my go-to drink, my absolute favorite bottle right now that I can get my hands on is 18-year Elijah Craig. And I've had guys all over the country find me bottles and ship them to me because
They
literally
want free cams.
the distillery that makes it is 2 miles down the road and you can't find it local. And the guys that find it, and the guys that do have it local, the couple of liquor stores here in town, they've got it sitting back behind the counter with like a $400 price tag on the damn thing. Well, that bottle's supposed to MSRP at like $129. So I literally,
I'd like to try some of that. Yeah, the Elijah Craig's just the regular Elijah's my daily. So
yeah, Elijah Craig, small batch and barrel proof are really good. The 12-year, if you can find some that actually has the age, you know, the age declaration at 12-year on it, it's great. They're selling it so quick that they've actually done away with the age declaration and selling some stuff that's a little bit younger now. But then the 18-year, the 21, and the 23-year. I have yet to be able to get my hands on a 21 or a 23. So any of you guys out there in Real Tuners land, if you see a bottle of Elijah Craig 21 or 23, I need to know about it.
Pick it up. Just pick it up, then mark it up. John will buy it.
yeah.
Don't hurt me too bad on the markup.
Nah. Hopefully it's one of your customers and they'll treat you nice. Oh man. Man, we got a lot of guests tonight. We got some surprises here too, man. Tony, I hope you hang out for a little bit.
Yep, I'm here.
Good, kick ass, because Tony Gagnon joined us tonight, and he's like a real instructor for EFI tuning, not like us fly by night guys. But we'll talk about some of the stuff he does here in a little bit. But
Is he an actual tuner?
he's
Yeah.
I don't know. He is an actual tuner, but there's this new actual tuners. We've had our first Chinese clones of Real Tuners.
Oh my.
Yeah, it's pretty hilarious. So for $250, you can go listen to somebody talk about me for 2 hours or whatever. Anyway, but weird stuff. Oh yeah, we'll talk about actual tuner guy here later on. He's pretty entertaining. He seems to want to be talked about, so we'll humor him in a while. But so let's see here, man. First off, new records. We got to revisit this again because people are interested in it. I'm interested in it. This whole doing crazy shit with T56 transmissions or H pattern manually shifted 3-pedal type of cars, which I agree is totally cool. Someone came out of left field and busted off I didn't think 200 mile an hour was coming for like a year. I didn't in that number, that mile an hour. I mean, I didn't think 200 mile an hour was coming in like a year, and I definitely didn't think it was coming from a set of square ports. What's up with that?
Oh
Man, Yuli.
okay.
Squareport Mafia in the house. Rye, I'll let you take the intro from here, man, since you actually did the better intro, but I'll let you take it from here. But
Well, you kind of like you said, you know, we're the spotlight is on the stick shift racers right now, and I think personally it's awesome. Whether you agree that it is an actual,
I do too. Oh shit, it's badass.
You guys are tearing shit up and doing badass stuff. And so we got Josh Tonski tonight with his Corvette, broke into the 200 mile an hour barrier in the quarter mile. There's guys out there that are on struggle street trying to break 200 and a half mile or a mile, and this guy just did it in a quarter mile. And you are not new to chasing this record. You had the record for a while back in the day, correct?
Yeah, I mean, we went 822 back in November. I mean, we had it a while. It would be Jared, and then I actually don't even own the car. It's actually my buddy's car that he let us build for him, and he actually can drive it too. But for whatever reason, I've drove it recently, and we took the record in like August of last year, and then we did 822 in November, and then the car had been down since then because I had to build other cars, and
Right.
he was busy too. So just the way it happened. And yeah, we don't have the record now, but we did do 200 on the first time out. So we're going to keep trying for sure.
You're going to own it soon.
Well, I mean, we can go ahead and like you can claim you're not the quickest, but you're the fastest, right?
Yeah. I mean, it's cool because we want that. We want that ET though. Ultimately, that's what we want. But it's nice to know we definitely have the power to do it. Now we just got to put it all together.
I mean, you got to feel good about that number because now all you got to do is just put together some incrementals, and
Yeah. I mean, it's there for sure on that pass. My whole goal was, I like racing. The record stuff's cool too. But when we got the record, we're actually racing, and we're racing in a 6-shift class.
I love this
and
guy.
I just really like the racing part of it. So that's the records.
I think that's awesome. In fact, we had a huge discussion about this in private the other day. Bewley actually convinced me. He had some good reasons for tracking and paying attention to records because it's a milestone. And the guy that's going to win the races and go rounds, well, first somebody's got to set the milestone. So he did kind of change my mind because I was kind of dogging other super tuners. It's like, oh, look, we set world records, which means you didn't win when they post that. But really, no, I have respect for the records too, but god damn, I love a guy that just wants to show up to race. Really, to me, racing is there's a car in the other lane. But
yeah, I mean, that's what we like. And I mean, I like equal playing field though, with the class who entered that we kind of got shoved in that, like Cletus kind of paved the way for us to be in that class and kind of let us do our own thing. And I was trying to save the drivetrain to get to the racing, and it didn't. Actually, we had like a freak accident happen with the slave cylinder kind of deal, pressure plate, and just kind of put us out. We could have fixed it probably, but it just wasn't worth it. We were definitely outclassed. And anytime you're racing against automatics, it's really tough to get a good reaction time when you're competing with someone with a button versus a pedal, especially if you're like old school trying to slip the clutch. And that track, Jason Miller has that track on kill. So if you're on a bias ply and you let that thing dead hook, it's going to be a problem with these drivetrains.
Right.
So I was just easing into that pass, and then it spun. I was trying to put a little more boost into it, and then it spun. And then I just started rolling the gears, and I got a little hairy, but I really wanted that qualifying pass. So because I'm there to kind of win the race. I wanted to get somewhere deep in the field because the previous pass I had a bonehead tuning error and forgot to turn booster roller on, and it was like a 9.0 at like 6 pounds or something. And I was like, God damn it! And so this next one, I was like, well, I'm gonna let it hang out there and at least get a decent pass. And when Taylor drove back down there and picked me up, he's the guy who owns the car, and picked me up, and he told me I went 200. I didn't believe him. I didn't even pay attention to how fast I was going. I was just trying to keep the car straight because it just kept walking around.
Well, I mean, typically, aren't you paying attention to the first 100 feet or so anyway? You know what I mean? And you probably did. If you don't feel like it did well there, then you're just like, I'll just leg it out the back door, right? But I mean, the power was there.
I knew this car had some power. I mean, because I already had tested it a couple of days prior, and I mean, I let it. I mean,
shit, dude, it's got square port heads. Everybody knows that's faster.
Yeah, I don't know why John let me get a cam from him, but he did, and it seems to work.
Cue gay jokes. No.
So we keep beating around the bush about the setup on it. Can you give us a rundown on this thing, top to bottom, top to back? Like, what's the combination that we're talking about here?
All right. Well, like engine or the whole deal?
Yeah, the whole deal.
Okay. Well, RKT56 put this gear set together using a G-Force gear set. Took a T56 case, put it together for me. And so that's the drivetrain. We actually have the first spool that goes in that factory diff for the C6Z, like the first one ever to be used. We got that from Drive Shaft Shop, and again Rick from RK56 put that together for me. It's actually a 5.3 Silverado block that is just sleeved with some 1/2-inch head studs. It's got a billet crank because the car used to be supercharged, so we always had a good crank in it.
So can I pause for a second? That's not even a 6-bolt block.
It is a 6-bolt block because ERL welded the side trusses on it.
Okay, gotcha.
Yeah. ERL is not around anymore, whatnot, but it is a sleeve 5.3 block. Yeah,
gotcha.
It has a set of masked LS7s on it that RFD and which is a head place down my way, and my buddy Sean Miller from Precision Rate Technologies did like a little valve job, chamber softening.
RFD as in Curtis from RFD?
Yep.
Yeah,
Oh yeah.
yeah.
Yep. Good.
Now someone else runs it, but he still comes in. They're local to me, but next door is my machinist, Sean Miller, and he's softened the chambers for me because we were still, when we put the motor together, we actually were still going over the supercharge setup, and then like halfway through, I saw Jared just having issues with the belts, and we had got lucky. I'm pretty decent with supercharger stuff. I've done a lot of it. But I just knew we're on borrowed time, but when we really started going after it, that we really need some turbos. So I hit John up, and him and I shot it around and about what to do with it. So we decided, I think we decided on like 76, 75 precisions, that's what it has on it.
And they're Gen 1s. They're 76, 75, the CEAs. They're not even
precision. Yeah, they're the precision. Yep. And so we're going to put air to water back on it. And then my good buddy Devin Vanderhoof, like any kind of Holly stuff that I need, he is always there. I know he's real big on methanol, so I started shooting the shit with him.
He's my good buddy too. LOL. Sorry.
I'm sorry. Who was that?
This Scott.
Oh, gotcha. Yeah. He's awesome, dude. So anytime I need help, I just hit him up on like methanol stuff I really hadn't messed with. I knew he did. And we knew we wanted to save the weight because these things are heavy, these cars. And I knew just with these drivetrains, the weight is going to be everything. Like, making them lighter is going to last longer or whatnot. And so we went with M1 methanol. So we just delete the intercooler. Shit, we don't even run coolant in the motor. We don't have any water pumps or anything like that. So we're all mechanical fuel pump on that, methanol, M1. We have some billet atomizers on it. It's got a Plasma Man intake manifold on it. So like a nice short runner, high RPM deal. And then we actually put the cam in it from the last setup, and which I thought John was crazy. I thought he was trying to sabotage me and have Jared out. I was like, you want me to put the same damn cam that I had in my last setup?
With the F1X.
Yeah, which he designed that one too. And I was like, John, we ain't stingy. We will buy a $450 cam for you. And he's like, look, man, put the goddamn cam in, shut up. So I was like, all right, we'll put this thing in there. And I never really, only time I used to run an alcohol dragster a long time ago, and that's the only deal I've ever done with alcohol. So I had Devin help me pick out some injectors and a pump. I put the same cam in there, put the turbos on there, and put it on the dyno. And it's an aluminum rod motor, by the way, and so some diamond pistons or whatnot, roller cam bearings. We got some pretty nice valve training actually, because we spin it to 8,600 or we can anyways. But I figured that'd be what it's going to take to go over 200. But actually, we only I think we went to the tracks like 7850. Like the tires grew a lot more than I thought they would. But so we still can go faster, which I think we'll be able to, because for the amount of boost that we had in it, I was actually surprised that we went 200. That's why the guy who came and owns the car and picked me up, I didn't even believe that we hit 200. And I had to look. I thought it was an error with the clocks or whatever. And then I looked at the data log, and my front wheel speed matched what it said. So I was like, all righty.
Listen, you weren't the only one that thought it was a timing error. What was the first thing I asked you in PM after you made the pass?
Oh yeah, he said the data's back it up, and it did. I didn't think it was going to, because I'm a realist. I didn't want to disappoint myself and like not be able to go 200 again. I got to know. And but I will tell you, at a couple hundred feet out, I knew we were doing something. That thing, when the shift light came on in fourth gear, I was like, oh boy, I know we're doing something.
Sound familiar, Mike?
It was pretty cool.
Absolutely.
Right.
That was unfortunate. The last
got
pass
the number when the shift light comes on.
When that light comes on before the stripe comes by, that something's going right.
Yeah, that's right.
Nice.
And unfortunately, we didn't make another pass, but we do have the car fixed now. And it's actually sitting on the dyno right now. I want to do a little more testing. And then we'll go back out.
What EFI system do you run? Are you running a Holly Dominator? Did I get that right?
Yep, Holly Dominator. That's correct.
Very good. Very good. It's interesting to see all the different ECUs in the mix there too. That's cool.
Yeah, we've had it from the get, and seems to be working for us.
Good. Yeah. That's
I
what matters for sure.
I'm going to try the Fuel Tech stuff out in my personal car that has a stick shift in it that I plan on bringing out next year. But I'm happy with the Holly for sure.
I think you'll like the Fuel Tech. I think you will, especially the presets. Once you get the launch presets figured out, and you can literally sit there and pick them like radio stations while the car's running. Right, you can just sit there and say, let's change to this tune. And it'll load the tune on the fly, but it's really, I'll just change different drive shaft curves and, launch RPM and launch retard, that kind of stuff. But I think you'll like that part. That's probably my favorite part right there on the Fuel Tech.
Yeah, I mean, I look forward to using it for sure. I already own it. I just haven't, ran the car yet. So
sure.
Actually. So
I don't know if you know this or not. Everyone's just throwing this out there in the Fuel Tech, but so you can take it out of the box, plug it into your USB, and it'll power itself off the USB. So you can literally sit there at your desk.
I did do that.
Did you do that already? Isn't that fun?
I did fondle it. I did fondle it for sure when I first got it. Yeah.
Yeah. No, I like it. It's a nice display and all that. Is it a 600? Did you get a 600?
It is. Yeah.
Yeah. Good choice. Good.
Yeah, I got their new CDI box that they sell to light off.
Yeah, the FT Spark.
Anything, I guess.
So actually, the other cool thing about FT Spark is that I noticed this. I just did my first one of these a couple weeks ago. It only takes one wire from the ECU to the FT Spark box, and it'll do all 8 channels of coil control, all the timing retards, all the individual adjustments. I guess it's just a serial cable, basically a single wire deal, one way comms. That it's super easy to wire to the between the two. I was like, man, do I got to run 8 coil wires out of this to this one box, and then from this box to the actual coils? No, it wasn't bad at all. Anyway, thought I'd throw that
what
out
I like
there.
about it is, which I don't know. I mean, I assume it's true. That's what they told me when I bought it. Is that I actually can monitor, what coil actually fired off or not. If it actually drained power to recharge, or if it missed or whatnot.
It reports spark energy. Yep.
Yeah.
It does.
There you go.
It's kind of interesting. It shows up in the data logs too. At first I was like, what the hell am I looking at there? They're like, oh, there's each channel has basically it looks at inductive current or something like that. I mean, it's kind of a simplified, am I sparking or not? But I didn't have a chance to have like a burnt plug wire or a plug go to shit to know that it wasn't sparking in the chamber to see what it did to those numbers. I need to talk to Cameron Lorman or Lewis, but their tech support's awesome. So cool. You are going to love that. You are going to love the FT600, no doubt. And I like the Holley stuff
from
too.
The import, like a lot of the import guys use it, which obviously a lot of imports already have manual transmissions and going way faster than we are. But it's kind of seems like Fuel Tech has options in there to help the manual guys out. So I look forward to trying to use that. You
don't have to do the advanced table stuff to be able to get like the strain gauge on the shifter, so it'll cut spark. And you can tune like just the brief cut, so it'll sync right up. And yeah, like that they pretty much mastered that years ago. And because over there in Brazil, everybody's got some sort of manual transmission that drag races. But
yeah, man, that's where I started doing some digging when we first got into this record deal. Because like I said, we just showed up to race, and we actually won the race at the same time, broke the record, which was cool. And my buddy, that's what he wanted to do. That's why he built the car originally, like years ago. Or last year, and I kind of did a little research, and the Brazil guys, they don't play around with the manual stuff. They got radial tires on those things, and they're really going after it for sure.
Yep. Why is everybody asking about M1 versus M5 methanol tonight?
Scott Evans is over there in the chat room getting off on some going into it, and
he's handling that. All right.
Yeah.
Is he answering correctly?
Yeah, they're in their own conversation. I don't know. I don't run M1 or M5, so I'll let him answer that.
I didn't. The one time we did a real test on an engine dyno, we didn't find any real power differences or anything that we could repeat that was,
Yeah, we'd considered it, but M5 stuff. But the reality is, I got all the cylinder pressure I could use right now, so I don't think going into a more powerful fuel is going to help us. Right now, we just need to get down the track.
Right. Clearly, power is not a problem. You're cracking 200
miles
an hour.
Right now it is not. Right now it is not.
Yeah.
So there's a few guys right now with you, Jared, Garrett, aka Cletus, are all very, very tight right now with going for this record.
Yep.
What are you guys? Do you know, or is there anything that sets you apart that you're doing different besides? Obviously, you have body panels on the car, and you're not running a blower. Behind the engine, like I know you said it's a G-force gear set in there. Is there anything like unique to what you guys are doing compared to what everybody else is doing, or is that hush?
If I was, I'm not sure I would tell you. Oh man, I mean, I try small things to see if they work, and that's kind of why I like doing this kind of record deal that we've kind of turned into. At the same time, I like racing, but this is kind of a new kind of thing for me. And I feel like I come up with some ideas, and sometimes maybe we copy each other or whatnot. But I know we're all using the same gear set. I do know that. And ours, the Corvette doesn't have a whole lot of aftermarket, like say like Fox body or Camaro like that. So we're all kind of stuck to the same parts for the most part, unless it's stuff we make. And here at the shop, I got this really badass fabricator who works here, and we come up with some different stuff for sure that I think will set us apart. I don't exactly want to say that yet, but we'll find out here in a week or so.
And next question, and if it's something that's hush hush, just say, you're not going to hurt anybody's feelings. But like, I watch Garrett's videos, and he's exploding diff cases left and right.
Yep.
Is the C6 diff that much stronger, or is the spool that you said you're running, is that like the key to your success right now? Or because you said your parts failure was like something slave cylinder clutch related, correct? Which is sounds like it's a freak anomaly.
Yeah. It was a slave cylinder seal. It just I thought it would end up being a pressure plate, but actually it was just a faulty slave cylinder. Would come down to. We already got it fixed, and this is what it is. But as far as I don't know.
If it's hush,
I personally have broke 2 C6Z diffs. There's no doubt what Garrett is doing is blowing everyone's mind. The fact that he went like a 118 60 foot with some C5 axles is about as America as you can fucking get, because the C5 stuff is junk. But I will say this: he definitely, and Jared too. I'm not racing my own car, and my whole goal. He's my customer as well as like one of my best friends. So I build this thing for him to enjoy. At the same time, he kind of lets me slap it around a little bit.
It's getting a legit R&D process for sure.
Yeah, well, yeah, and that's why he likes it, because I'm gonna shake all the bugs out of it.
I was gonna say, turn it down to run 190 in the quarter, and he can go get groceries in it. It sounds like.
Yeah. I mean, he definitely lets me have my way with it as far as in the beginning. But I know, and he can drive it too. I mean, he's actually done better 60-foot times than I have with the thing. So I think we're gonna let him rip it in a week or so and see what happens. And it's pretty cool. But what I was saying is, I'm always try to be nice to this thing as much as I can out the hole, because the last thing I want to do is break it and then him not be able to enjoy it. But that being said, what we broke 2 times back to back. I basically went 822 on the next pass to try to push it harder. It broke. We took it back home, put a new diff in it. The spider gears broke in it. Went back to the track like the second time, dry hopped, and it broke spider gears again. So that being said, I called DSS, Tad over there, and Frank, and I was like, "Look, man, what can we do?" He's like, "Well, we have something we've never been used it for. If you want to be our guinea pig, have at it." I was like, "Well, send it my way." And I think it's going to be part of our success, but I definitely personally don't drive the car like Cletus and Jared do. They drive the shit out of the thing.
Yeah.
And we will eventually, but every time we've gone out, like even when we originally broke the record and took it from Jared, it was our first time out. Like we were just testing the car out. I was easy shifting it, and we had synchronized trans back then. Now we have faceplated, which can be a little harder on it. But my whole mindset, and that's why I was talking about earlier about the racing aspect, was to qualify, just take it easy on it, and then really start going after it in the rounds. And if we break something in the rounds, it is what it is. I mean, I had one backup diff and one backup axle, set of axles. But so like I said, on the 801 run, I wish we did a 132 60 foot the night before. So definitely we could have had our deep 7 for sure, but it just wasn't the cards. I definitely was going to send it the next round. There's no doubt about it.
So what's next? When are you gonna get the thing out and try to take this?
We every year, my buddy guy who actually builds all the transmissions for us, Rick, he is part of a Corvette deal, and they have this rental at MIR coincidentally, and that's kind of it's not our home track, but it's close to us. It's like 3 hours away. So next week we rented that out, and it's a yearly deal. As a matter of fact, last year at that same rental is when I took the record back from Cletus. He went like 8.4, and then I went 8.3. So it's that same rental. So hopefully I have the same luck and kind of steal it away from Cletus again.
So next week we should start paying attention to social media, and we'll see something.
Yeah. Next Friday, yes sir. Next Friday, MIR. So
Sweet. Well, anybody that you want to plug, man, who helps you guys out on this ride, plug away.
Well, I mean, John Bealey does the cam. We all know that. And,
yeah, he's okay out here.
Yeah.
Thanks, right?
Definitely, RKT56, man. He really, obviously that's what we're doing here. We're doing the manual deal. So he does, our transmission is a big deal for us. And then my machinist, man, he really, I feel like we have one of the best machinists out there. That's kind of why we have so much power and do the little small things that you can do to LS. He's been racing LS. His name's Sean Miller. He's been racing LSs for probably longer than anyone I know. I mean, we're talking a long time ago. And he does the little small things to do to take some power out of it. So, and then we got a good camshaft designer, and the rest is us, man. I mean, honestly, we really, I mean, Devin came through and helped me with the methanol, getting that set up. I mean, to be able to go 200 right at the door, the back door, he gave me some good ideas on how to manage between rounds to cool it down, all that stuff. So having that experience was awesome. So I always appreciate that. But other than that, my guys and I, man, and of course the owner of the car for letting me build the monster. But we try to do almost everything in house. I mean, I assemble all the motors here. I do all the tuning. I got a fab guy who would do all the welding fabrication you see, and then I got a bunch of wrench turners, man. So we got a really good team here.
Hell yeah, man! I can't wait to see what you guys are gonna do. And it's super exciting to see like the 6-speed, just the man pedal racing. Kind of get reinvigorated, and it's not one person just taking it to everybody, and it's actually, you guys are mixing it up, and
it's hotly contested, man. There's 5 or 6 guys in here.
Badass.
Yeah.
There's a lot.
Whether you believe it's a real record or not, it doesn't matter. Like these guys,
there's enough guys trying to do it. It's just like a regular race to me. I mean, it's almost like a class race now.
Listen,
it's badass.
It's all hot and bothered now, but the fire is coming next year, and Tonski's bringing the fire next year. Y'all just don't even know.
You're gonna change the game.
I know what's coming, and I ain't gonna say, but
that's why I like this deal, because like I do this stuff because I love to do it. I mean, I also makes that's how I put food on the table, whatnot. But I really love to do it and kind of innovating. And I actually come from the import world where basically, if you wanted to race, you're racing a manual train. So I've been driving manuals in racing world a lot slower than this thing. Trust me, this thing blew me out of the water as far as it was a handful to drive it. But I love the manual stuff. It really been awesome for sure. And being able to do something someone hasn't done, that's cool too. But I can tell you what, dude, what makes it awesome are the people. Because like Jared and all the guys that I deal with, a couple of them don't like me for whatever reason, but I don't blame them. But like Jared and Cletus, all that stuff. I mean, we talk often and we're very competitive, but I like, Cletus offered us parts to try to help, fix the car. There.
Like, dude, you got the top 3 guys that are gunning for this record. Like, they may come from different camps, but everybody's at the end of the day, you can still bro down, which is great.
Yeah,
but it's all about.
That's awesome. And that's really what makes it for me. It makes it competitive because we're all pushing each other. If Cletus doesn't come around us and do a 780 out of left field, I mean, it wouldn't have the attention it has now. So it's pretty awesome to be able to just compete. I feel like hopefully in 30 years from now I can look back and laugh at it. And I don't know how fast manuals will be then, but it should be pretty cool.
Oh yeah, man. Well, we appreciate you being on, dude. Thanks.
Not a problem, man. Appreciate it.
You ain't got to log off or anything like that, but we're going to roll into the next thing. We have Mr. Bill Fowler, our resident legal expert of Big Hat Racing. And we're going to talk about Proposition 65. So if you're tuning in from California, pay attention because California kind of leads the way. I hate to say way, but they do. The
California Air Resources Board actually does lead the way because usually whatever they do, the EPA follows the next year or two.
Yeah, so you may think this doesn't apply to you now. If you're a shop owner or a shop operator, or you're just a general hot rodder, like don't go anywhere and just pay attention to what we're about to talk about because it is important and it affects everybody.
Let me add to this a little bit. So what the hell is Proposition 65 just from like an end user standpoint? I know it's something to do with some stickers that go on products, but really it affects manufacturers trying to sell stuff into California, which some parts of our industry have high demand.
Yeah, it gets worse than that. for a variety of reasons. Scott, do you want to share on the other media?
Yep.
I hate to do this to people. You tune into Real Tuners.
You're
We're at
live.
the 67th episode. We got this far without doing PowerPoint. And I'm about to screw that up completely. And I apologize if you hear in the background, my dogs are trying to get into my office where I am because I'm trying to be quiet in here.
Get him, Chewy.
So it's, yeah, Eddie, exactly. Dogs. Anyway, so Prop 65. So now, of course, the moment I try to get into this, I have a Mac here at home and I get pinwheels. So I'm trying to move the damn deck forward. So it's just going to sit there and stare at the title screen. So Prop 65 was actually passed originally in 1986. Most people think it just sprang up and bit everybody as of August of this year, but it goes back a long ways. And it was originally intended to be a basic thing passed by the voters. Yes, it's California. To let people know if there were toxic compounds either being released into the water supply or if there was something you might want to be aware of. I just cannot believe my machine is hung. It's been sitting here staring at me for all this time. That has morphed over time. And so I'm hoping I can make this thing come back to life. It's not acting well for me. So Scott, I may back out of the screen share for a second and have to, restart it. I don't
Everybody
know
take a drink.
Yeah. Oh my God. Yes.
Hold on.
So now it decides to catch up all at once.
Yeah.
Perfect.
Go ahead and share it again. Bill Fowler.
Yeah, I'm going to do that. It suddenly clicked through all of them all at once. That if there's anything classic, it's that. So it'll just give me a minute to pull it back up. I love technology. This is my first time doing this.
Good place to do a dry run on this. Yeah. Good place to do a dry run.
Yeah, but we'll see. Okay. And then I'll go back to the share.
While you're looking at Silversill, somebody had a really good question on Mixler since you're kind of fixing this. He wanted to know what oscilloscope settings would you use to look at a 24x LS cam and crank signals. He's using a benchtop scope, and it doesn't have pre.
Last week, or is that tonight? That guy asked that. I thought we answered that last week.
Might be old, might be new.
Look at how many days it is. No, so you want to set them to measure. So get it hooked up to your 12-volt battery and have it be able to measure. For 24x, have it be able to measure, 15 or 20 volts, whatever the settings are, and it's per divider. But you can go back and listen last week too. I got you now, Bill. It seems to be working.
Yeah.
There it is. I'm going to be hammered by the time the show's over.
Working great, guys.
Yeah, so so this started out as this basic notifications. More recently, any of you have ever traveled to California, you've seen things like what's in the middle of the screen. You go into a Starbucks, these signs that said chemicals known to the state of California to cause cancer and reproductive toxicity, including acrylamide, are present in coffee. By the way, that's something natural that happens when you roast coffee, and that may change. But the bottom line is we've had to deal with these stupid warnings, those of us who live in or visit California for a while. And it wasn't as big a deal. Also, I put this in just for you, John, this warning about diesel engine exhaust. So if you worked at a diesel shop or a bus barn or any of that, these signs have been up there for a while. But more recently, beginning in August, it changed so that now manufacturers are responsible for putting warning labels, and I'll get into what the labels look like in a second, on any product that ends up in California. Now, that's the manufacturer could sell it there directly, or, for example, if you make camshafts and you sell them through Summit, they're going to sell that camshaft maybe in California, and if so, it has to have a label now, a warning label. And the same applies to distributors or the retailers on the ground, or even online sellers who don't have a physical storefront. Every single one of those that ends up with a California consumer getting something can be a problem. The one exception to this is for companies with 9 or fewer employees. So for those of you that might be listening, they're thinking, hey, wait a minute, we make some stuff and we sell it. If you're 9 or fewer employees, that's an out. On the consumer side, obviously there's lots of people in the country who are beginning to get products. So you get a camshaft and it has a warning that says, chemicals on this camshaft may cause cancer. It's like, I didn't know camshafts cause cancer. Well, they're talking about chemicals that could have to do with residual metal from the grinding process, or more likely to do with the solvents and the chemicals used for the cutting process, or even in the packaging. And the reason that's the case is because Summit, JAGS, and everybody else that's in distribution, they're just not going to sit there and have separate piles of product just for one state or another. And unfortunately, what that means is all of us pay a little bit more for stuff as a result of this. So what is it that's effective? Well, basically anything you buy related to a car potentially could have these warnings associated with it. So let me give a couple of quick examples. There are over 900 chemicals covered by this. And the ones that are the most affected in the automotive aftermarket are products that contain lead. Usually lead is part of brass or nickel. Most of you know that nickel, of course, is an alloy compound in both stainless steels and regular steels, or chromium, particularly what's known as hexavalent chromium. And even, if you're ready for this, wood dust. So if you buy wood products in California, they have these stamps on them, and you'll start seeing that. And the warnings look like what you see on the lower left here. And this warning form with the little yellow triangle and all this was new as of August of this year. And anything that's been manufactured after August 30th of this year that's going to be potentially sold into California that requires a warning has to have a label like this one. Now, people asked about this other category, plasticizers. So plasticizers are used to make plastic anything other than hard and brittle. So it can be anything from shampoo containers to toys to cosmetics to all kinds of things. Or like we were talking about on the show a week ago, feminine wipes even have plasticizers in them, but also food products because of the processing processes and all of that. So the two biggest categories out there that are affected are these plasticizers. So what does that mean for the automotive aftermarket? Well, they went after Valvoline, who sold a pump so you could pump oil or gear lube into a container. And it was the plastic tubing that had these phthalates, in this case, something called DHEP, that was in it, and you could get exposed to that. And the warnings, by the way, are not telling you that you're going to get cancer because you look cross-eyed at it, or as a lot of people say, don't lick the product. It is a very small amount of exposure. What kind of exposure? In some cases, it's literally like a part per million. Now, what is a part per million? The best way to think of a part per million is 1 inch in 16 miles. You just want to kind of get a little context for that. So we're talking about vanishingly small amounts of exposure that trigger these warnings. Again, they're warnings. It doesn't mean really the product is unsafe. It just means that California determined that they have to be there. And as, unfortunately, the 7th largest economy in the world, and a lot of buying of products takes place in California, everybody in the chain of commerce is resulting in having to do this.
I have a question. Is it the product itself? So say you have a product and it comes in a sealed plastic bag. Does it need to have the sticker on it because it's inside a bag that needs that sticker? How's that work?
Yes, because the plastic bag causes cancer.
Exactly.
Yeah. So unfortunately, the tricky answer is it's as likely that the plastic bag is a problem as the product inside. A lot of things obviously are shipped in things. And if you're defending yourself, if you can show that the customer is never really going to touch this thing. So let's say, for example, you buy a new engine and that engine has pistons in it, and those pistons happen to contain some of these chemicals. Well, it's not that they contain them. It's kind of like metallurgy. Those some of those stainless things can have 5% or more in some cases of nickel in the alloy, but that doesn't mean you can just sort of rub the nickel out of it by touching it. So it has to be exposure to the individual chemical. Now, of course, it's shipped to you in a plastic bag, and if somebody else installed it, you might not have touched it, but of course, the person who installed it did. And you do not have to show harm. You do not have to show that anybody got sick. You do not have to show any of those things. You merely have to say, this is what happens with the plaintiff's attorneys, that this product contained these chemicals and users are exposed to it in the reasonable course of using the product. Now, like I say, that could be a shampoo bottle, or that could be the bottles that your oil comes in. And all of those have been subject to some of these failure to warn lawsuits. And so you're going to see a lot more of these products come with these little warnings.
So as a manufacturer, do I just stick this thing on every single thing, make my life easy,
Yeah, that would sound like a good plan.
I mean, it sounds like the easy way. I mean, you buy 10,000 of these stickers, are probably pretty cheap,
Yeah, so a couple of things that have happened. One is the mandatory design for the sticker itself has changed. So if you look at this one on the upper right, and I'm now going to be playing for time because my application has decided to freeze again. I don't know why.
He's an Apple user, by the way.
Yeah, I know. Bag on me now. They now have to have the little triangle. If there is color on the packaging, then the triangle has to be yellow. If the packaging labeling is only black and white, it can be black and white, but they're required to have these new labels. There are two types of labels, and if this, I am going to drop out of the sharing for a second because I'm going to have to restart this again. My apologies to everyone. Now it goes. Perfect.
So where do the labels go? So for me, I put fuel injectors inside a sealed bag, inside a box with foam. You know what I mean? Do I put the sticker on the box? Do I put the sticker on the bag? Where should I put the sticker to minimize my risk?
Yeah, so generally you're going to put the label itself on the packaging. So if you're sending a bag or a box of fuel injectors, you won't necessarily have to put it on the individual. Oh, this is fascinating. You won't have to put it on the individual product itself, but rather the packaging that it comes in. So you're sending, let's say, for example, 8 injectors, and you've made a determination about what you want to warrant for on those injectors. If a product is small enough, let's say you're sending a little tiny bag with a couple of bolts in it. In that case, you would just put what's known as a truncated label. So a truncated label, like in the lower right on the screen you're seeing now, is warning cancer and reproductive harm. You have to include the website for the Prop 65 warnings.ca.gov so people can look up what that means and where it's happening. Or if it's a larger product and you want to be more specific around the warning, you can add 1, 2, or 3 chemicals. There's no requirement to list every single thing that's on it. And either of these warnings create what's known as a safe harbor, meaning you've done what you need to do to make a warning to potential, buyers of this product. You can say, gee, my camshaft causes cancer. I don't care. I just got a stage 3 from Bewley and I'm getting it. Or I've got these injectors, I'm putting it in. But that's the purpose of the law. So the general consensus is now the best thing to do is put it on the individual product in the sense of how it is shipped. So if it's 8 per bag, or Lord knows 10 per bag or whatever it is, you would have 1 sticker for that. Does that make sense?
Yeah. So what I want to put, if the product's like, say, 8 injectors are inside a sealed bag, would I want to put it on the bag, or would I want to put it on the outside of the box that they get shipped in?
Either one is fine.
Okay.
Yeah. So you can go either way, and you'll be good to go on that. One of the things to know is that up until August of this year, the little warning, the upper left one on the screen that says, warning, this product contains a chemical known in the state of California to cause cancer. Those labels, and there's zillions of them out there that companies are still trying to peddle, those labels are no longer good. Putting a label like that on something is the best way I know of to get somebody to come after you, because they know that you're in violation of the labeling requirement, regardless of whether you had identified the right chemical or not. So you have to use the ones that look like the ones on the lower left or on the right. Those are the exemplars. And, you can name the chemicals. Or again, if you've got small packaging or small products where it doesn't make sense to put the larger label, you can use the truncated one. But you also have to have labeling on your website or your catalog, or if you're selling through someone else and they have a website or catalog, they have to reproduce your warning. So what this means is there's a whole set of things that have to be communicated up and down the value chain. So my other business is Big Hat Racing. So Big Hat Racing, we resell some other products. And if I put stuff on the website or put it on the Big Hat Racing Facebook page, and I've got something on there, I want to make sure if that company has a warning for it, I need to reproduce that warning along with the information about here's these injectors and here's what they do and here's how they work. So everybody, and now my shop is in California, so I'm stuck. You could make a decision if you're running a business somewhere else that you're simply not going to sell into California, but that's a big market to give up on for the cost of a relatively small sticker. So as a company, what do you have to do? You need to talk to somebody where you can get the competent advice of, well, what warnings do I need for my particular product? You'll note here that I said, what languages are required? So in the auto parts business, we usually don't put a lot of multiple language stuff. However, a lot of the larger manufacturers now routinely include Spanish as far as instructions and even on the naming on the product. So if you're going to be bilingual, then you have to have a bilingual warning. If you're going to be trilingual, like this sample here that has the truncated warning with English, Spanish, and French, and there's English, Spanish, and French on your label, well, you got to have the warning in all three languages. What chemicals do you want to warn about? There's two ways we make that decision. One, we're looking at all the plaintiffs' firms. Literally hundreds of these lawsuits start out as something noticed as a 60-day notice of violation, meaning you got 60 days before the lawsuit shows up. Mostly that's just to settle. So we look at who's suing for what chemicals and what type of products, and we provide advice based on that. And then the second thing is we look up what type of product do you have and which ones are most likely. So if you're not physically manufacturing the injectors, but rather having someone make them for you, and then you sell them, you can look back to that OE manufacturer to say, are there products that need to be, chemicals that need to be warned for in this? That's what I mean by going up and down the value chain. You then have to have similar warnings on your website. Again, if you're going to sell into California or in catalogs, or if people you sell to are going to sell into California, they have to have the warnings that you supply them. So you have to have the right communication to suppliers and resellers and distributors. And then, of course, there's the worst thing is, what if I get one of these 60-day notice of violation, meaning I'm going to get sued? And again, you want to talk to competent legal counsel, or a firm that can help you with that, and perhaps including doing testing to either prove that that chemical isn't in your product or it's below what's also called a safe harbor, different use of the term here, meaning it's so vanishingly small that it doesn't create a risk. And about 300 of the 900 chemicals do have risk thresholds associated with them. So you just really want to be prepared. And as you mentioned, it's the cheapest insurance to get a label, a warning label on the product, on the website, on the catalog, because the plaintiffs right now are going to go looking for the low-hanging fruit. It's kind of like thieves. They walk down the street. This house has an alarm system sign and a Rottweiler. I'm going to go to the next house. It's the same kind of thing. You've got warnings. You're showing that you're paying attention. They're going to go to the next guy down who isn't doing that. Any other questions?
Mr. Sewell? That seemed to make sense. That was pretty well explained.
Yeah. All right. So say I have less than 9 employees, but I'm selling to a shop in California that has 25 employees. Where does this fall at? Do I have to? Yeah.
So unfortunately, because that shop has the 25 employees, even though you have less than 9, you really do want to go ahead and put the warnings on. It's a low cost thing because they're going to have to put a warning on it, even if the point of origination didn't have it, because everybody in the value chain has to comply.
And everybody's going to lean on the upstream guy. That sucks for Tom. Yeah. I can see where that's going. Shit's going to go uphill in that case.
Just buy the stickers now.
Yeah. So again, get some good advice. I'm going to put in a painfully obvious plug here. That my other business is what I call Prop 65 Datalytics, and I and the guys that I work with can help with that. So point you at, you likely have local printers who can do stuff. What we help with for very reasonable cost is what the labels should say, how you should apply them, what warning you want to have on the website. I'll give you sample communications to send to your distributors and all of that, so that you can get this covered and done and quick and not spend a lot of money or waste a lot of time doing it. Any other questions?
So do you sell the stickers?
I know people who do. I am not in the sticker making business, nor am I in the t-shirt making business. Hell, for that matter, I'm not even in the... Say again?
I didn't know if this was going to be an SFI deal where you're like, hey, we have these stickers, you can buy them off us, but they're really expensive.
Yeah, no. Every little company in the world out there, Uline and everybody else, is in the business of selling these stickers. The critical thing is the stickers now have a very strict formula they have to follow with the triangle and the exclamation point and all of that. And so there's a lot of people, unfortunately, with a lot of inventory out there, and they'll be selling that stuff cheap. Don't do it. Make sure you get the correct stickers for what your product has in it. As I mentioned, there's a safe harbor idea that you warn for the most likely things that both your people are getting sued for and what is really contained. You could obviously put a warning on it that says, oh, cancer risk and reproductive harm risk. And if you just name some random chemical and somebody does the testing and there's something else, you're not protected. So it's not a complete get out of jail free card. Are they going to test it when you've got a warning sticker? Maybe not. That's part of the good news for the near term. But these people are pigs at the trough. $84 million in legal fees were paid by companies last year, just legal fees for this. And by the way, the plaintiff's attorneys on this.
So what you're saying, there's people out there that go out and find products that have issues that don't have a sticker, and they say, we're going to sue you and get some free, easy money off you because you don't have this.
Yes. It's called a bounty hunter statute, and literally that's what it is. And so you've got a bunch of these little law firms, and they find people that are the plaintiff. The same guy will file, 30 lawsuits a month against different companies. And this is big companies. Harbor Freight has been hit multiple times on this stuff. Some of the other big companies, but it's little companies too, which is really sad. The average settlement in terms of the fine, by the way, the fine is split between the plaintiff and the state of California, is $40,000. The average legal fee that you'll pay their lawyer to settle one of these is about $80K. And you'll have to hire a lawyer too, which is going to cost you somewhere between $20,000 and $30,000. So it's a pretty good sized six-figure ticket. The fines for this, by the way, are based on the number of violations.
Because you said this law came into effect in '86 or something like that. So if I was already selling something, and I put a sticker on there, and then they find stuff that I sold 3 years ago, am I still liable for that stuff?
You only had to conform with the law as it was in place 3 years ago, where the simpler warnings were in place. So it's only after August 30th of this year, by the way, with products manufactured after August 30th of this year, where you have to meet all the new standards. So if they want to sue you for something that's been out there for a while, they can do it, but it has to be based on the old law, and the warning requirements were much more lax. Now, if you had, the base warning on there before, you're fine. You're likely fine. But if you had no warning whatsoever, that still is potentially at risk. So inventory that is out there, the smart thing to do is send the people that have that inventory on a shelf or something that send, hey, under the new Prop 65 rules, I don't have to put this sticker on the old inventory, but I recommend that you do it and we do it because this could save us all some money for the cost of a sticker that's going to be, 3 cents a piece.
Those are some good answers right there. Yeah.
Wow. This literally affects every single thing in my mind. I mean, technically, you can get cancer from a hamburger, So
right.
Well, it's funny you mention that. I mean, now they're the same thing. I suppose next year you can't have Burger King or McDonald's put in the exhaust in the air because that's carcinogens in the air because you're burning beef.
Right.
So that's
yeah.
Doesn't stop.
Hey, speaking of which, welcome aboard. I need to introduce this guy to the rest of you. It's funny because Scott Evans is probably closer friends with you, Tony. But so we have as an extra guest tonight, Mr. Tony Gagnon, who. Tony, I know you as you're consulting with the tuning school, right? Which is really the premier factory ECU training guys out there, both live classes and materials and all this stuff. What is your actual, do you have a full-time job or what explain what your day is typically like?
Well, first of all, I'm Navy retired. I retired in 1998. I was a sensor operator on a P3s. Track submarines for a living. So I was Jonesy from Red October in an airplane.
Gotcha.
Okay.
The Orion.
So
That's great.
I like that. Yes.
Yeah.
So back in the 80s, that part of the job deal, I learned to do that. And I also became an instructor for the airplane as well as multiple facets, airplane simulators, things like that. All that we dealt with the aircraft. So when I retired, I had my business, which was, tuning cars and building cars, which I'd been doing since the early 80s. So it fell into nature a couple of years later that I was in the right place at the right time with an engineer who was teaching a class. And we all know how engineers teach class. Okay. We can all go, oh, okay.
Right.
And I was in the classroom and I was absolutely just about to lose my mind. Simply because I was like, no one in there was listening. Everybody was tuning him out, and I wanted to know this information. So I casually mentioned in the break, hey, I could help you with this. I'm an instructor, curriculum developer, master training specialist. I can help. So one thing led to another. I started assisting, and that was with the company at the time was SCT. So they would sell the product or their software to an individual, say in Newfoundland, and that person would get a hold of me, and I would fly out there and spend 3 days. And we teach class, and then we do dyno time, and they tune 5 cars, and it basically paid for me to be there, and they're on their way with learning. So I did that for many years. Traveled to Germany, all over the place, and so ended up selling my company in 2009 after a life-changing event. We all have those, and I decided just to keep the tuning portion, which at the time was 66% of the profit of the company.
Right.
So I sold the mechanical of the shop, sold everything. Matter of fact, Kevin Fiskus and Josh Kluger bought the company from me. I just kept the dyno and the tuning stuff.
Huge names in drag racing and small tire or radial racing for sure.
Yeah. My claim to fame there is I actually taught Kevin how to adjust valves. Think about that a second. That's how long ago that was.
That's awesome. Wow. 2 guys I would love to get on here, T, by the way. Maybe you can help us out.
I thought, well, I'll do that. I'll talk to him.
Yeah. Actually, I want to get Bob on here as well. I'm really hoping to get to talk to Bob at some point in time.
I almost sent him a message earlier. I was going to do that.
We're blowing past normal time, but we can go as long as we want to. So let's carry on. But we'll get Bob on here next week if we can. That would be sweet.
Not a problem. So I end up with just the company tuning stuff, and I started teaching, for other people that bought different softwares. And one day I was in an airport, and Bob was sitting there, and he was sitting there kind of shadow-faced, and I was like, you okay? And he goes, yeah, I hire these guys to help teach class stuff, and then they disappear after they make a name for themselves. And I'm like, really? So, and he didn't know anything about me at the time other than I tune cars. And I finally said, you do realize that I do teach, right? I'm an instructor. And he goes, what? And I said, look, I don't need the accolades. I've done 46 magazine articles. I've done TV shows. I've done commercials. I just like to teach. I have fun doing it. I want to get this knowledge out there. There are people out there that don't want the knowledge out there. I'm the kind of person that, when I'm learning it, when you teach someone, you reinforce it. That's how it is, Scott.
Yeah.
So
yeah. Actually, I got some of the best feedback and critique ever on my own classes when you snuck in and sat in one of my classes and didn't tell me who the hell you were until the end of the class, you son of a bitch. But
well, Kevin knew. I thought you guys knew. I just
No.
And when you started saying instructor in the class, I'm looking around and said, "Who else is in here?"
It's funny.
I was just there.
No, and it's funny because one of the only classes I'll actually really be positive about other classes when I'm talking in mine is I'm like the tuning school, because I bought way back when, like in 2007 or 8, I bought a book from the tuning school, and it was some of the best Gen 1 or Gen 3 ECU step-by-step stuff for the General Motors LS that
Absolutely.
it was kick ass compared to the other. Yeah, it was literally step by step when you got it.
Trade secret on that? Bob will kill me, but I'm going to tell you the trade secret. You know what we do, right?
No.
So we write the software and we write all the stuff there, and the process, I should say.
Yeah.
And we put our wives in the seat of the car, and they do it.
Oh, that's hilarious.
So when they can do it, anybody can do it. Now, my wife just made a comment in the background. She said, "Yeah, I did the EcoBoost and actually more power than you." She had to make that comment just now.
Nice.
So, but
I was going to say she's going to kick her ass otherwise, because it almost makes it sound. That's awesome. I really like the tuning school's step-by-step processes. And it's like, we learn by doing. This actually walks you through doing it. It's literally worth. I mean, it's like having somebody stand over your shoulder there, which is nice. It's worth twice the price you ask for it. So anyway, I've always thought that. And I was happy about tuning school. And then I think Kevin told me later, "Oh yeah, I was supposed to tell you that guy Tony's from the tuning school or whatever." He's an instructor. Oh yeah, and he's also like a retired Navy instructor. He used to teach pilots how to do shit. Oh my God, I had sweat rings touching front and back for a few minutes.
I was like, dude, I was just there to enjoy. I want to learn. I go to class. I went to Holly schools. I've gone, just like anybody else. I want to learn.
Everybody's
little things help you every day.
Yeah.
So you mentioned a fuel tech. I had a fuel tech car today on there in the dyno, and I was going through the stuff on it, and I remembered you said something a couple weeks ago about something. I found it. So it's those things back and forth that work for all of us.
Yeah. For sure, man. I don't know. Just that we are a group of guys who are all about everybody learning how to do this stuff. And it's nice to be able to sort of make a living at it. So, yeah.
Absolutely. I've been blessed with that. Yes.
Yeah. Yeah. Same here. Cool, man. That is outstanding. So are you guys cranking through all the Ford programs? Is that kind of your specialty? I noticed you spend a lot of time doing the really complicated stuff, which is obviously the late model Ford ECUs are nuts.
The Coyote stuff, Prince is a perfect example in 2011 or 2010 when we knew it was coming out. And, before I was teaching for the tuning school, we were put on our plate to learn to tune the car. And, there was stuff that missing that we knew had to be there. And so we were trying to figure out how to do this stuff. I mean, think about it. We couldn't data log it. So we were guessing, for 90% of it. And then once we were able to data log it, we didn't know what we were looking at. So, and as you start going through it, it gets better and better. And, some of the lead guys like Ken was on here a while back. He's phenomenal with it. And John, all those guys, it's been a really good process. Now, if you think about something compared to 10 years ago, we're so far ahead with the technology. You see how fast we're going. I mean, come on. So, but making that process work was
I'm just impressed you guys are figuring it out, because that's such a harder job. We've had Stephen Goldaddy was on here from HP Tuners and talking like what all kind of work these guys are going through to make this stuff available. And it's like, how much of it is just random guesswork and just ridiculous. So it's impressive. It's impressive that they're able to figure it out and do that stuff with the stock ECU, because it saves a ton of time. And I mean, nobody does a better ECU installation than Ford. You know what I mean? That stuff everything will stay together and work for, 20 years. But anyway,
it's really phenomenal.
Say that again.
It's really phenomenal, and what's available to us. Me working at tuning school, besides being in the field, because I'm tuning cars every day as well, but I get, throw those inputs in there when I'm teaching class. I usually add about 2 classes a month at the tuning school, and the private classes, do public classes as well. But I handle the Ford stuff and a little bit of the GM. And right now, if you don't saw at SEMA, the guy's just getting ready to release the Dodge. The Dodge is going to be huge, because totally different from GM and Ford. And if you ever open up a Dodge tune and go to look at it and go, what in the world? It's but
what in the something?
Right? What the hell?
Yeah.
But that's being released right now. That was a big thing at SEMA, and the guys going to release that. And they've been working on that process for about 6 months now, day and night.
Wow.
Bob and Mandy are awesome, by the way. So
That's awesome. Yeah, I can't wait to talk to him. So we got to get Bob on here. I've been wanting to tell that guy since like 2007 or 2008. What I thought, because I evaluated theirs, and I'd been to some of the other stuff and looked at some of the other, read the other books and materials. I'm like, ooh, this isn't the theory. It stood out by being a practical guide. So
the process.
Yeah, I really liked his approach, and I'm like, man, even if there's some different steps here, it walks you start to understand it. It's the quickest way to learn how to understand how all the different things affected each other in the tune in those factory ECUs. That which today everybody thinks are easy now, the Gen 3 LS stuff, but anyway, to me, I mean, coming from standalones, that shit's still complicated, but I understand why. It's those things can run every damn combustion cycle that happens in that engine, right, just at the right crisp edge of lean, which is great for emissions purposes. It takes skill and lots of stuff to do that. So I appreciate that. But
you figure those guys have spent 4, sometimes 6 years in engineering just on specific functions. So when we finally get it, we screw it up, So we have to figure out when we're screwing it up, how to at least make it work better. 6 years there, us with no experience getting there, start messing with and changing stuff. It's like, okay, why are we changing it? We have to figure out what works and what doesn't. And most of us have basic engine knowledge, it comes down to that. But there's a lot of data. You think about something. You remember we talked about in class that day, you talked about MBT. And people don't realize that MBT, some engineer spends basically a year figuring out what the spark is best for MBT table, the whole table. And then when it's done, they don't even use it. It's a guide.
Right. It's a guide. Yeah.
Yeah.
The time these guys get to
data.
spend. I did some classes in Detroit this year and had a couple of OEM guys show up that were actually actively calibrating for a couple of the OEMs. And man, they had some really enlightening stuff to share and insights. I mean, now a lot of the time, he said, is spent modeling that stuff, and then they'll just send the junior team out to validate that the models are matching, the actual real life. All right, you guys go take this car out to Denver and measure a couple of things for us, and and then he said most of the time is spent working with modeling, and as
we're
opposed to
actively calibrating for to a couple of the OEM.
Yeah. I don't know why that did that. Sorry.
Well, those guys spend a lot of time. I mean, they work on each individual has to put together, and it works with each one of them. I mean, it's a process, and I envy some of those guys. I got to meet them many years ago. I got to do probably the coolest thing ever in my life was having a Ford GT that we built on the proving grounds at Ford. So that was probably the most phenomenal day in my life, practically, other than my kids being born. So, and it was awesome. You're watching your baby that you've put all this effort to, and they're test driving your car and beating the crap out of it, and come back and tell you this is phenomenal. It's what we'd always wanted to build. And you're looking at them going, really? And so, and those engineers and some of those guys were just full of knowledge. I was absorbing everything they said. So
that's badass. Yeah. The GTs are wicked cool cars. I got my buddy Jay Brown up in Minneapolis has one, and it's every time we go up there, we check it out, take little rides. Cool. But so rock and roll. Yeah, see what we can do about getting Bob on here next week or the next week or two.
I'll be talking to him tomorrow. We've got stuff we're getting ready to work on, and so we're all going to meet at PRI.
I'd love to hang out with him for like an hour on here and just kind of hear what he has to say and some experiences. I saw that he had a wicked booth for SEMA, right? They built a neat booth. Were you out there this year?
I did not go. They were teaching a class at Dynajet, the GM, and next
Same
year,
here.
I've got a bunch on it. Yeah, so.
Yeah, I was doing a class up in Chicago, and I was like, nah, I'm not going to make SEMA this year. But I wish I would have, because I saw Bob posted the picture of his booth. I'm like, whoa, they did a really nice one. I thought it was really cool. So, very neat. Cool. Well, all right. Anybody else got questions for Mr. Gagnon or Fowler or anybody else that's on here before we...
I just want to say hi, Tony. I made it.
Welcome in, my friend.
He left work, then we were still blabbing, and he got in and hooked back up. Very nice, Mr. Evans. Somewhere. Yeah, so, all right, cool. Rye, you got anything else? You still with us, brother?
Yeah, I'm here. No, I'm good, man.
All right, cool. I don't have that much else either, but I'm sitting here thumbing through trying to find the outro music. Here we go. So,
no, I got much going on.
Everybody take one more drink.
Yeah, there's your audio glitch for the evening.
We didn't
on
do
both
too
ends.
bad
It's like
tonight.
bumpers, front and rear.
Right. So All right, cool.
Yeah.
Well, thanks all you guys for tuning in tonight. Yeah, a lot of people listening. I bet you this will be a heavily downloaded episode just because of the presentation that Bill gave on the Prop 65 stuff. That was pretty badass, Bill. Nice job. Yeah, that was good info.
Thank you.
Yeah, nicely done. All right, cool. All right, well, we'll let everybody else go. You guys take care, and all you people that tuned in, thanks for listening. We appreciate it. Check back with us next week. We're back on air on Wednesday night. Take care. Take a listen. Let's see. Class is coming up. We just opened up the Ohio class, and it's already about halfway full. That's January, 19th weekend, Saturday and Sunday. Check that out. It's at RealTuners.com. Other than that, we're putting up about... going to shoot for 2 classes a month, and we're starting to put up January right now. So keep an eye on dates and whatnot if you're interested. And if you don't see what you are looking for, hit me up and suggest a city, and we'll see if we can do one near you. Thanks, everybody, and have a good night.